Hi all, hello. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone, and happy holidays. And today we are gonna listen Patrizio and Riccardo. They're founders of Wallet and maybe better if they introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Pat. Been with Riccardo for the last 7 years in the crypto sphere, looking after the ops and the growth side on exchanges, non-custodial wallets, privacy focused. Now we're working on an SDK, an open source SDK that is the brainchild of Rick, ex-Monero lead maintainer. We'll hand over the baton for him to share more on that.
Yeah, Riccardo Spagni. I've been in the space a minute. Started with Bitcoin in early 2011, and I built a bunch of things along the way. I built Globy, the payment gateway. I invented Yat, created Tari, and as Pat said, I guess most famously, I was the lead maintainer of Monero from its outset till 2019 when I stepped back to build more stuff. So maybe a bit of background is useful. So in late 2014, early 2015, I launched a Monero wallet called My Monero. Initially, it was a web wallet, and then in 2017, we launched mobile and desktop apps. Today, we're the largest Monero wallet by an order of magnitude. We have 500,000 monthly active users. We have a long tail of many millions of installs and a track record of operating an extremely large, extremely useful wallet for the last 9 years. Obviously, monetizing a single chain, single currency wallet is really challenging. So last year, we came up with the not very inventive idea of launching a drop-in replacement for My Monero that would be multi-chain, multi-currency, multi-assets. And so, as any good entrepreneur does, I sat down with my team and I said to them, how do we fast forward this? How do we get to market as quickly as possible so that we can test some of our theories, that we can find product market fit? Because of course, you want to test them as quickly as possible. And so we set about trying to find a library, a set of tools to help us build this wallet. Because of course one must exist. So it turns out one doesn't exist, which is pretty embarrassing given that it's 2023 or almost 2024. This is not a new industry. There was an attempt at doing this in 2017, something called the Open Wallet Stack. That was abandoned in 2019 because they only supported Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, despite the fervent beliefs of some. That's not the world that we live in. And it's actually really bad because it means that every single wallet in this space and every single project that incorporates a wallet is building in a silo. And there's scattered pieces of this. There's little bits and pieces to try and do very singular aspects of this. And a great example of that is the Bitcoin Dev Kit, which is a library for building Bitcoin wallets. The challenge is that all of these pieces, firstly, they're not connected, but secondly, they make a set of assumptions. So the Bitcoin Dev Kit, for example, makes a set of assumptions about how you're going to build a wallet. It just assumes you're going to use BIP49 for key management, and that's it. You want to do anything else? Tough. You want to do socialized key recovery? Well, go roll your own crypto and then end up with your users getting burned a few years down the line. So it's not a good environment. It leads to incredible amounts of really, really bad software. It leads to really dangerous cryptography by developers who really should not be playing around with that. And ultimately, it leads to a bad user experience. And that's really sad because, a wallet is often the very first thing that a user will use, now often they'll use a custodial wallet in an exchange or whatever, but invariably they'll be sitting down at, Christmas or Thanksgiving, and then their friend who's been who's held Ethereum for 5 seconds longer than they've heard of it, will say to them, oh, not your keys, not your crypto. You've got to get it off an exchange. And then they have a terrible user experience. They install some wallet off the App Store. It's probably a scam. Everything's a mess. The user experience is garbage. The code is, in some instances, closed source. So how do we address this problem? How do we fix this? Well, we're building something called WalletD. And WalletD is a liberally licensed open source toolkit for building wallets. It's completely free to use. There's no charges to pick it up and use it, as any good open source piece of software is. We don't care how you use it. You can use it for commercial purposes, non-commercial purposes, or anything really. There's a couple of significant things that we've done. The first is it's architected in Rust, and that leads to several good outcomes from a security perspective. Rust takes away some of the concerns that you sometimes have when developing secure software. But it also means that we're able to provide interfaces and APIs and libraries for various programming languages, because Rust provides C bindings out the gate. And we can also produce WASM, which is WebAssembly and is useful for doing all sorts of, crazy web-based wallet stuff, or browser plugins or anything like that. Another significant aspect, just from an architectural perspective, is that Rust has a portion of the community that is very dedicated and devoted to something called Rust Embedded. And Rust Embedded is a slimmed down version of Rust that allows Rust software, or software architected and written in Rust, to be compiled for embedded devices. And that means that Wallet D will eventually, with its Rust embedded variant, be a piece of software, a library that you can use to create hardware wallets. Now, the upshot of all of this is whether you're creating a hardware wallet, a software wallet with a wallet built in, a dedicated app for an NFT marketplace that has a wallet built in, whatever you're creating, you will be able to use Wallet D to build the wallet aspect of it. And that means that developers can focus on the thing that they do best, and that is the user experience, innovative features, user acquisition. These are things that developers should be focusing on, not how do I make sure I can support the latest breaking change in Solana, or how do I support the latest L2. Like that's not where developers should be focused. They have all sorts of really cool ideas, and they're spending so much time building in a silo, just desperately trying to support a very basic set of operation. Now, another thing that's advantageous with our modular design and with the way we've architected things is we focus very much on interoperability from a code perspective. And the upshot of that is we treat things like account abstraction as a key management paradigm. We treat various key management mechanisms, various MPCs in a sort of semi-isolated state. And the upshot of that is that all sorts of really cool wallets could be built on top of Wallet D. And an example of this is you could build a wallet for Bitcoin maximalists. It's Bitcoin only, it supports Bitcoin and Lightning and, some of the other sort of like Bitcoin-y things on top of that, like Ordinal. And that's all it does. But from a key management perspective, you can use a socialized key management system that's on Polygon. Nothing prevents you from doing that. Users would not know that the fees are being paid on Polygon, that there's a little bridging operation that has to happen in order for their key management fees to happen. It would be totally invisible to users. We're able to enable experiences like that without compromise because of the architecture of Wallet D. Now, I'm sure, as I alluded to earlier, the fact that it's an open source library and anyone can pick it up and just use it might lead to, or should lead to the obvious question, which is how do we make money? And as much as this is something that is necessary for the ecosystem, as much as it is something that we think is a piece of plumbing that needs to exist, we're also, capitalists at heart, and we don't want this to just be a charity. So the way we make money is really interesting. There's two real revenue streams here. The first is the obvious one. It's what we call the Red Hat model. A lot of open source projects have it, and that is that, as it's our brainchild, we have the best knowledge around it, and we're able to, help anyone who's building on top of Wallet D. They can pay us a retainer, they can pay us an hourly fee, whatever it is. We can handhold them, we can provide 3 a.m. emergency tech support, whatever they need. And obviously not every developer will need that. In fact, the vast majority of them won't, but there will be some that will go down that path. The other revenue stream is far more interesting because that revenue seems rather dull. And let me explain the revenue stream by speaking to how wallets typically make money. So you can't really layer fees in to ordinary transactions with, in wallets, because some transactions, especially when a network is under load, might be very expensive. And now if you're layering in an additional transaction fee, you're bloating the size of the transaction, which makes it even more expensive. So we consider that option from a consumer wallet to be pretty bad. The way most wallets make money is through ancillary services. So this could be something like swaps, onboarding or offboarding services. They could integrate something like Handshake or Yat or Unstoppable Domains. They have rev share programs. And so whenever somebody buys one of those aliases within the wallet, then you get a rev share or portion of the rev. A lot of these other systems like KYC free centralized swap services have got affiliate programs. And so there's revenue to be made in a consumer wallet. And MetaMask, as an example, especially at the height of the bull market, was making tens of millions of dollars a month from their swap service. So there's, it's not too difficult to do if you have an audience. Now, how does that translate to Wallet D making money? So what we've done is we've solved the problem for these ancillary services by building a module for their ancillary service into Wallet D's code. And that means that when they go to a wallet that's built on top of Wallet D, and that wallet says, oh, that's card to crypto? That's amazing. We had no idea that even existed. You mean our users can buy some crypto with like their debit or credit card? That's really cool. They can now turn that feature on because the module exists in Wallet D with 3 lines of code and some UX work, instead of it being like, 3 weeks worth of engineering it. And that's really powerful. And because of us solving that problem, the ancillary service providers are happy to cut separate commercial agreements. And that separate commercial agreement says very simply, wherever Wallet D code is used to hit your ancillary service, you pay the wallet developer the full fee. We're not going to get in the way of that. You pay the full affiliate fee, rev share, whatever it is. But then you pay Wallet D a few basis points on top of that in recognition of the fact that Wallet D code was used to power your service. There's an additional benefit here, and that's our sales force. So all of these ancillary service providers, as Wallet D reaches a level of feature parity, as we support their particular service, they've got a sort of basic like enterprise sales strategy, which is go and knock on the door of every single wallet and try and get them to integrate their service. And they face the same barrier over and over again, which is wallets go, oh wow, that's really cool, we'd love to add that feature, but we're resource constrained, so we can get to it in 12 to 18 months time. And now they're able to say to that wallet, well, hey, if you were built on top of Wallet D, you'd be able to add that feature tomorrow. You'd be able to do it in record time, and you wouldn't be resource constrained. And so not only are we solving a problem for them, but we're turning them into our enterprise sales force, which is incredibly powerful because they're doing it for free. In fact, they're paying us to be our sales force, which is really unique. So that's sort of the revenue model. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is the avenues that Wallet D will be used in. And there's really 3 major tiers that we think Wallet D will really sort of slot into. The first is existing wallet projects, and this is an obvious one. You're an existing wallet. Going back to what I said about them being resource constrained, that's no joke. They really are resource constrained. They literally have engineers whose sole job is to sit and monitor GitHub, mailing lists, IRC, Slack, Discord, to see when there's a breaking change to a chain that they support. And that is an incredible waste of resources. And so they are chomping at the bit to be able to switch their code base over to Wallet D, which they're able to do in stages. It's not like an all or nothing approach. And that's incredible because it'll mean that those resources, as they get freed up, can be put onto building cool features and creating some sort of like delineating factor so that that wallet becomes even more successful. The second is new projects. And this is, typically we're talking about new wallets, like they're new entrants coming into the system. They want to build a wallet. They think that nothing out there solves the particular problem that they have, or maybe they've just got access to a particular user base. They might be deeply connected in the model railway scene, and they think that they can build a really cool wallet for model railway enthusiasts. But how do they go about doing it? No tooling for it right now, or at least not the sort of tooling that Wallet D is. And so by solving that engineering challenge for them, it means that they can go to market with fewer engineering resources. They don't need to worry about engineers who are really skilled when it comes to cryptography or secure software development, because all of that is abstracted away. All of that is solved for them. They don't need to worry about, are we encrypting keys at rest and only decrypting them when we need to? All of that is done. And so they can focus on those 3 core tenets that we spoke about earlier, which is innovative features, really cool UX, and actually going out and acquiring users. And then the third tier, or the third pillar, which we think is really interesting, is wallets that are not standalone wallets. And so this would be something like a game or an application that has a wallet baked into it. And a great example of this is we occasionally get the opportunity to talk to organizations who are thinking of building a crypto-enabled project. And we had a really, really interesting discussion with a tier one game developer. They develop AAA games. They are extremely good at what they do. And they are not, they're not naive. They understand crypto. They know how to put assets on a blockchain. What they struggle with, how are they going to solve the wallet challenge? They don't want to be custodial. They don't want to have like a PS5 game where like it fires up for the first time and it says, hey, 13-year-old kid, please go get your parents so they can provide us a copy of your passport, of their passport. They don't want to be non-custodial either, because that's a terrible user experience. Please go and like write these 25 words down, or please etch them onto a steel plate and like get your parents to put it into a safe. That's a terrible user experience too. And so Wallet-D enables them to create something that might be a hybrid of the two. They might be able to leverage all sorts of different aspects like the PlayStation Network secure storage. There's all sorts of things that they can do that they just can't do right now without putting together a team of 30 people dedicated to that. And so Wallet-D is a massive enabler for entrance into the space that have, I'm hesitant to say they've been afraid. They haven't been afraid. They've just been, like obstructed. It's just not feasible for them to bake crypto into their product without something existing. So I'm going to pause there to take sort of initial reactions and questions. And then, happy to discuss Wallet-D further and speak to anything that I might not have spoken to yet.
Yeah, thank you so much, Riccardo, for your pitch. Questions?
I'm Malika, and hi. Riccardo. Just a quick question, and I think you alluded to some of it during your presentation just now. Can you walk me through some of your strategy? And I have a lot of discussions, I think, these days with a lot of white label solutions. I'm not saying yours is necessarily completely white label, but similar to companies and startups that have it, whether it's building a marketplace or an NFT marketplace. How does your sales strategy work in reaching out to either develop wallets to integrate your tools, your infrastructure, and also the sales funnel for maybe new business leads as well, for maybe people that are thinking about creating a new wallet, but how do you contact them, or what due diligence do you do and research do you do to try and find those opportunities?
Yeah, great question. So I think there are a couple of aspects of this, and I'll talk to sort of the low-hanging fruit first, and that is obviously having been in the space for over a decade. I have deep connections to existing wallets. So like Exodus, Edge is a great example. We actually power all of Edge's backend Monero functionality. And so a lot of that is, picking up the phone and speaking to people in my network. And at the moment we're on a path, or we're sort of going down the path of chatting to existing wallet projects in particular, and having them sign LOIs so that they're sort of engaged and they're working towards being able to integrate Wallet-D or to switch their code base over to Wallet-D. And another aspect of this, and I did allude to this earlier, is the fact that they can piecemeal the integration. So it's not like they have to like abandon their entire code base and switch over. We've done a lot of work, especially like on the key management side, to be able to ingest existing key management strategies that they have, so that they can use Wallet-D for something like new chains. Like, okay, they've got to add like whatever new L2s, and now they can use Wallet-D for that, and then they can slowly sort of almost backport the rest of their chain support over into Wallet-D. So those sort of decisions that we've taken lean into that and sort of solve like a lot of the engineering questions and challenges that they might have. Beyond that, something that I didn't really get an opportunity to talk to is that we do have a token. The token, having cut my teeth on like the 2014 like Bitcoin fork wars and the 2017 ICO nonsense, I'm very averse to tokens in the general sense. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about like why a token should exist and what its purpose is. And I'll talk to one aspects of the token, which is really useful. We've created something called the Grow to Earn program. And the Grow to Earn program is really targeted at both existing and new wallet developers. The way it works is they have to obviously they have to sign a deal with us, and they have to go and do cross-marketing. And that cross-marketing is not geared at consumers. We don't think that consumers will care if Wallet D is involved in, the building of a wallet any more than people on Facebook care that they're running Postgres or some database. But what is important is that they can do cross-marketing to developers, whether that comes in the form of doing a white paper with us or an integration paper or something along those lines. It just really helps, developers to trust and validate that Wallet D is something that they can use because, it's used in this other project and it's really cool and so on. And then as their user base grows, they earn tokens proportional to the size of their user base. And so that presents an opportunity on two fronts. The first is if you're a new project, you're a new wallet, and you have a really small user base. As your user base grows, Wallet D tokens can be a form of much needed revenue. It can help you to really scale and grow because you can either sell them, borrow against them, or whatever you want. And there's staking opportunities within the Wallet D ecosystem as well. And then the second thing, which is really useful, is that if you are an existing wallet project and you have a large user base, millions of users, that obviously, it's in some cases, it's relatively trivial to verify. But, if you have a large user base, then the amount of tokens you get can be significant. And that covers your engineering costs and the engineering effort required to transition over to Wallet D. And so we think that's a huge draw card as well. Because now it's not just like, well, we're saving money, you could also be making money, and that's huge.
Really interesting. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tyler, for your question.
Well, maybe as a co-founder, I would ask an obvious question, like co-host. Sorry, not co-founder. So what plans do you have for future partnerships with the project?
Yeah, so right now our big focus, as I mentioned, is on getting like LOI signed with existing wallets. I think I'm a very pragmatic person, and I think that there will always be holdouts. There will always be, wallets that choose to go down a particular path that they think makes the most sense to them. Things like the sunk cost fallacy that will come into play. I don't know if MetaMask will ever, re-architect using Wallet D, but I think that within the next few years, Wallet D is going to be the only sane way to build wallets, and not just non-custodial wallets or hybrid custodial wallets, but you can use Wallet D to build an entire custodial solution. And so, organizations like Fireblocks and other custody providers we're having like really early stage discussions with them as well, because we think that it's super interesting for them to be able to re-architect their backend on top of Wallet D. It solves so many problems for them. And one thing that sort of related to that is that Wallet D as a library is very unopinionated. And I'll give you an example of this. When it comes to, say, connecting to the Ethereum network and getting state, we support various mechanisms. You want to, connect using Infura, no problem. You want to use Etherscan as a backend with like PushTX, fine. You want to pay Alchemy for an API key, cool. You want to run your own Ethereum node and talk over RPC, we support that too. So because we're unopinionated, it's really powerful for existing custody providers because they can re-architect without needing to fundamentally change the paths that they have, the relationships that they have, the deals that they've struck that save them money because they're using Alchemy or whatever it is. And so that's massive as well. And I can foresee a future, and I don't think that this is something that will happen, overnight, but I can absolutely foresee a future where even exchanges that don't use external custody providers will re-architect their deposit and withdrawal infrastructure to use Wallet D. Because why should they need to care about breaking changes to some chain that they support? And why should they have to do any engineering lift when they can just pull down a current version of Wallet D and get support for some new chain that was released yesterday?
Okay, that answered my question. And guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask Rick.
Awesome that I answered everyone's questions without them being asked.
Oh, Joshua is raising a hand. Yeah, you can speak.
Hey, Rick. I'm a little bit curious, and maybe I came in late. I was on another call. I apologize. I'm a little bit curious what the revenue plan is for Wallet D.
Yeah. So I spoke to it earlier before you came in. So the revenue model is really split into two. The first is the obvious one, which is the sort of traditional open source library model, where we're happy to handhold and provide support services for anyone building on top of Wallet D. And we have, hourly rates, retainers, and sort of 3 a.m. emergency call out rates. And that's the least interesting one. The more interesting revenue stream is ancillary services. So things like swaps, anything that has like an affiliate model or a rev share model. We bake support for them into Wallet D, and then any wallet that's built on top of Wallet D is now able to use that service. And every time they use that service, every time a consumer who's using a wallet built on top of Wallet D uses that swap service, buys a domain through Unstoppable Domains, buys a yacht, anything like that, then they pay the full affiliate fee or rev share to the wallet developer. And they pay a few basis points on top of that to Wallet D because we've solved a massive engineering constraint issue for them.
Thank you, Joshua. And thank you, Riccardo, again for answering. Ivan?
I don't know, maybe another question from me. So does the project plan to incorporate tokens, and what utility would that be with that?
Yeah, so I sort of mentioned one of the aspects, which is the Grow to Earn program. There's 3 other aspects, the other purposes rather that the Wallet D token serves. The first is that it is a governance token. Now, Wallet D is not a DAO, so it's not a governance token from that perspective, but it's a governance token with regards to the code base. So the focus area is, from a governance perspective, is what features must be developed and in what order should they be developed. And the reason that we think it's really useful for staked token holders to be able to vote on this is because staked token holders, wallet users, they understand what's important to them. They know that, like this particular feature is more important to them than another one. And so that provides clear direction to anyone building on top of Wallet D. They can see what features are getting voted in, and now they know what features to prioritize in their wallets as well. The second thing is we've just sort of embraced the SEC's worldview that everything is a security. Okay, if everything is a security, everything, like, no problem. Then we can play the game and we can just treat the Wallet D token as a security. And as a result, we've thought long and hard about ways to really provide some sort of interesting sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, but provide some sort of monetary financial incentive and growth incentive for the token's existence. I think the days of it's a governance token with limited supply, so therefore it should go up in value, are dead. And so what we've created is a structure where periodically a very small portion of Wallet D revenue is going to be used to buy stable coins, and the stable coins will be distributed pro rata to stake age-weighted token holders. And the fact that it's age-weighted is really interesting because it means that the longer you stay staked without unstaking, the greater your pro rata distribution will be. And that acts as a velocity sink, which is an important aspect of any token that's going to have a structure like that. And then the third thing, which we think is quite nifty as well, is obviously it is an open source project. We want to encourage external contributions. We've got all of this this data and insight as that from votes as to what features are important, what features should be done first. And so anytime a contributor pitches up and writes code that is approved, that is merged, that is good code, that is well reviewed, and solves one of those features, they have the opportunity to earn tokens, and we're calling that the Build to Earn program. So, those 3 plus the Grow to Earn program are already the 4 key elements of the Wallet D token.
All right, got it. Thanks.
Okay, Minka is asking here in the chat, what's your ARR model?
Yeah, so obviously, with something like this, we've thought a lot about building this out as an ARR model. The challenge here is any sort of like SaaS ARR element that we're going to add into this is going to, if we're sort of putting the onus on developers who are building on top of Wallet D, that's going to be really challenging because it's hyper centralizing, and we're not an infrastructure provider. We're not sitting here trying to build infrastructure that then powers wallets. There are organizations like Alchemy and Infura that do that. We're not here to compete with their business. We're here to solve a very specific problem that has not been solved in this space. And that is, how do wallet developers build wallets as quickly as possible? And they can take advantage of these existing wallet developers. And so we're really leveraging the consumer aspect of it. And when, as sort of more wallets are built on top of Wallet D, then we will extract value from every single consumer that hits an ancillary service, whether it's a swap, some sort of onboarding or offboarding system. They bought a gift card inside the wallet, anything like that. We leverage it and we benefit from it.
And just to add to that, Minka, if you do require access to our revenue forecasts, we're welcome to give you access to our data room for you to dig in and include our CFO in that chat.
Yeah, thank you, Minka, for your question. Thank you, Patrizio and Riccardo, for answering. And also, could you please maybe, guys, describe the competitive landscape?
Yeah, so the competitive landscape is really interesting. As I sort of alluded to earlier, like there is no competitor. There was an attempt at doing this in 2017 with something called the Open Wallet Stack, which was subsequently abandoned in 2019. There are pieces of this that exist. There's stuff like Trust Wallet Core, which is the library that powers Trust Wallet. You could try and use that the same way you could use the Bitcoin Dev Kit if you're building a Bitcoin wallet. The challenge is that it's aspects of this. It's not really tying everything together, and it makes a set of assumptions. It makes a set of decisions for you as a wallet developer. And the minute you want to go outside of that, well, you can't, because the library doesn't support that. And that's when you end up with developers writing their own crypto and making an ungodly mess. I think sort of something else that's really interesting there is, we've certainly seen this in the past, and I think we'll continue to see this in the future, where wallets start off going down one path and then they switch. So, a great example of this is a wallet that starts off as a Bitcoin wallet, and then they realize that maybe they're struggling to differentiate themselves in the market, or for whatever reason, they decide they want to add support for Ethereum or Solana or whatever. If you've built your wallet on top of something like the Bitcoin Dev Kit, there are so many underlying assumptions that are made that float up to the rest of your wallet code. And that is like, it's a little thing sometimes, like the number of decimal places or anything like that, which is an assumption that just carries through. And now you try out Ethereum, which has more decimal places, and suddenly everything falls apart and you're struggling to understand why. Or, you want to be able to take the keys that you're generating for one wallet and for a Bitcoin wallet, and you want to reuse it in Ethereum. And now suddenly that's not possible without you performing some complex cryptography. And again, we then end up with insecure, problematic code. So it's really, this is a solution for developers to enable them to not need to overthink this, to not need to over-engineer things, but to be able to focus on making their product great for consumers.
Okay, so it seems like that's it. So again, thanks for joining in, for sharing this information. And by the way, all the links will be in the description box below. So if you have any more questions after watching that, you can always contact or Patrizio. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in.